Welcome to Untethered Homestead. This is Ray with the third set of pictures on the house in East Alabama. The outside edge of the deck was laid out for 2x6 walls. The wall plates, top and bottom, are laid out 16 on center. All the parts are being cut out for assembly. Important note that after the frame was built, I fastened the frame to the deck temporarily to straighten the frame and to square it diagonally. The sheathing was put on, walls are built, laying on the deck waiting to be lifted. Once the walls were up and plumbed and braced, we moved on to the next set of walls. This wall was going to be the fireplace wall, along with the framed out for the wood door to go in. We also left some plywood off in this one area where there's a plank that comes across the mud to help keep the mud out of the building. The OSB sheathing is on and back nailed with 2 1/4 inch ring shank nails. Careful not to penetrate the sheathing too deep. Barely fracture the sheathing on the building. The walls are plumbed and braced and made ready for trusses. Some of the window holes are not quite cut out yet. Still raining and windy. The walls, right and left side, are laid out for the trusses, 2 foot on center. The sun finally came out. Crane can come in. The mud has dried up a little. The gables are now being separated. One for the front, one for the back. The sun is finally here and it's good to see it. We are hooking the first gable up on the gable end closest to the crane. There are 2 types of trusses being used. One is a flat bottom truss, which will be over the bedroom and the bathrooms. And then there's a scissor truss that will be used over the living room and the kitchen area, called the great room. Time to get started on the first gable. We got the first gable up, bringing it in, nailing it down, securing it, bracing it from the inside. If it was a real windy day or a day that we weren't sure of the weather, we'd brace it on the outside as well as the inside. But for now, it'll be braced and plumbed on the inside of the building. The first 5 trusses are brought in and set, braced as we go. Then we'll step back for a little bit and get them squared and plumbed with the gable wall and attached with diagonal braces on the outside, diagonal braces on the inside of the truss, and a rat run started. And this will carry through for the whole building. These trusses have pony truss peak, which will be added in later on when the purlins are up. 2x4 laid out, 24 on center for the rat runs. They're secured. The building is secured from one end to the other with these rat runs. We call them rat runs. Second half of the trusses will be going in, and these are over the great room, and these are scissor trusses. There are 9/12 pitch on top, 6/12 underneath. A little harder to keep them up when it's all clear span underneath it, nothing to stand on. So it's a little harder work. We built some scaffolds so we could get up and stand in the open room and work on them. Last gable is in and nailed and braced. Lower right side is the patio. The upper side on the right is the fireplace area. Now it's time for the purlins, and they'll be with 12-inch overhangs on the gable ends only. Purlins are laid out 2 foot on center. They're 2x4s with a 12-inch overhang on each gable. No overhang on the bottom side. There will be a 10-foot wraparound porch will be added later on with the ceilings a little flatter. Now it's time for the back side. The lower left side is where the compressors are going for the air conditioner. We have 1 air conditioner in the attic, 1 in the basement. The 2x4s, 16 foot, are also rough sawn lumber and very heavy. The trusses are in place, and the purlins are completed. The snow started to come in, and we have to get rid of the snow, get it all cleaned off, get all the plates cleaned off so we can treat it all for bugs before the metal roof goes on. It's a welcome sight to see the roof go on and start protecting us from the weather. Our windows are on the right side covered up. They came a little early, but we are waiting to get them in and start closing this thing into the weather. The panel sides are 36 inches wide and 21 feet long. The first load of decking arrived for the deck that wraps around the porch. That'll be the next project coming up. Now for the back side, again, no overhang at the bottom, not yet. So it'll all be flush, both eaves. The The last panel is always the hardest, as well as the ridge cap. Glad to see it finished. They had to use some scaffold here to get up to do the ridge cap and to finish the ridge cap. Thank you for joining me on this video, and I hope to see you again for the fourth video on the wraparound deck. So can't wait to get started on that.